Okay, let's review. We talked about cubes that don't pinch with three parallel lines. That's 1, 2, 3, all going in the same direction, more or less. And then we talked about this kind of a cube that's in one point perspective, where the pinch is occurring from here. So all these lines, 1, 2, and 3, eventually converge. We talked about changing up the proportion of the cubes and cubic shapes that we're drawing. So we had the brick and the mattress, and then we textured them gritty and lumpy respectively. And then we talked a little bit about vanishing points, like this one, that sort of look like asterisks, and they're very designy, and you need a ruler to do it well. It takes a long time, and it could be frustrating in the beginning. So I don't want to frustrate you in the beginning. We'll do this at the end. Right now, we're going to do the hacks to do it so no one's frustrated at all. Here's the Mercedes-Benz logo, right? You see it right here. It's a perfectly divided pie in thirds, pizza pie, 3 people. And if you look at it a little bit more, you'll see this shape right here, where angle A and angle B are all that you need. So if I draw these angles very, very lightly, oh, look at that, it matches up with the window. And if I draw this angle very, very lightly, look at this, it's going to match up with the door. And then I've got guidelines, so if I need to put, say, another door over here, I already have a pretty good idea of how that's going to go. Or if I need to put a teeny tiny little, let's say, light switch, I can do that. The other thing that I can do when I'm in this mode is I can put frames on everything so that it's not just a rectangle for a door, but it really looks like a door because it's been doubled up. Or I can put molding on the floor, where the floor meets the wall, or where the wall meets the ceiling. If you look around, every single room that you're in has these sort of signifiers that let you know, that these are not just shapes, but they're supposed to represent specific things. So doubling things up and adding frames to them works wonders. So too does putting a frame around your drawing, because it helps you contextualize what the actual composition is. I want to give you the the extra special part of this hack that you should understand, which is that when we place our figures here, the one that's closest to the camera will appear higher up in frame. So it's understood that both of these characters are regular sized people, and that we're not standing on a hill or on a slant, even though the perspective is a little distorted. The best way, let's do this once more, step by step together, a little bit bigger. So the first thing that we're going to do is very lightly draw a Mercedes-Benz logo as best as you can. But I think that what you want to do is just make sure that the angles are nice and even, so that by the time it's coming together, it's not so hard to imagine the corner of a room. Okay, and then the next thing that I think is really important to do is just very lightly put a frame around it so that it's not floating in space, and you can sort of contextualize the composition a little bit more. So I've got my first angle, I call it angle A, like that. And the second one is angle B. It's going this way. And if I need to very, very lightly, like tickle the paper, don't press down, drop in some parallel lines that are in the exact same angle as this one. This line has informed all these guidelines. They're just parallel. I'll do the same thing over here. And so if I need to know where the walls or the picture frames or the windows or, electrical outlets, like where they're supposed to be lined up, I don't have to worry about anything. All I need to know is that the verticals are not going to ever distort. So let's start here. I'd say there's a door is going to go here, and then I can follow my guideline and then bring it back down. The vertical is still vertical. So as long as I can draw parallel, straight lines, I'm gonna be good. And if I can't, I'll use a ruler. And if I can't do that, I'll do my best. That's all. All right, so let's see. I said that the floor, like molding is always your friend. And if I'm being fancy, I can do it twice, 2 little ones. And I'm gonna do the door frame twice. And eventually it'll take a little bit of dimensional shape without looking too much like a optical illusion. Because it's got, you know, the door has a couple of different sides to it. So I'm trying to use value to show that happening. All right, and it gets a little messed up in optical illusion. That's okay. No one's gonna be confused. Okay, so on this side, I want a window over here, and I want my window to get cropped. So vertical is good, and I've got guidelines here and here, so I know that this one must go like that. Redeem myself for that door frame. Then the fun part about this is that, you know, I'm sure there's stuff going on outside the window. So I'll just drop in some more very light guidelines in there, and I'll say the sidewalk's here, and there's a door here, and a window here, and garbage here, and a gate and a grate, and hey, it looks great. Okay, so look at that. Couple more lines in that direction, and the perspective is enforced pretty well. But watch this. I'm going to drop some of this angle, the orange angle A, over here on the sidewalk. And as soon as I do that, it's really going to start popping. I'll do the same thing on the roof, and the dimension will start coming out. Okay, so the big challenge that I like to drop on people here is the couch. Oof, because it's tough, because if you draw it too square, it won't look comfortable. And if it's too lumpy, it won't look like a couch. So we're going to start light and square. Just with like a stick of butter. That's one hell of a Twinkie, right? So it's going to be built out of this shape. And I tell you what, I'm going to erase this guideline for the wall because it's going to get in the way and it's going to confuse us. So I really want to focus on the shape of the couch. So I tell you what, I think I'm gonna switch up to orange in order to do that now that I've got this here. And let's make it big, and hopefully I'll keep it in frame. Okay, great. So I'm gonna start on the side of the couch. I know it's got this arm shape, so I'm gonna cut back and up, and this needs to go this way and down. And I think as soon as I do this, you're going to start seeing how it all comes together. Right? That makes more sense. This line's a bit confusing. Something weird's happening here. Whatever. Okay, so watch this. I'm trying to do the arm over here, and it's got to line up to this. So do yourself a favor. I know what angle I'm at, and I'll just drop my pencil here, so that all I have to do is measure from here, and I can even go lightly. Oh, look at that. And so where this orange line connects to this blue vertical line is where I need to drop. Look at that. These two shapes are basically the same. They're not perfectly the same. That's okay. I'm going to do the exact same thing here because I want this seam to match up over here. I know where it goes, but so look at this. Does it match up? Not really. Let's see. There we go. And all I have to do is hit this angle A on here and here, and I feel pretty good. And I'll drop it down, and then the seat is going to go. Seat's going to go like this. 2 cushions. Back like that and up like that. You see it's bulging. The lumpy parts fit together with the rigid parts. So that's the essential construction of it. And if I need to finish it in ink or put like extra details in there or clarify like how this works, instead of making it like, you know, it's made out of like a concrete block, round it off a little bit. That's the thing about finishing drawings in ink, is that you're not bound. The point is that you should be doing something improvisational against the foundation, a somewhat rigid foundation, as in it should be loose, but it should be, you know, the construction should be stiff. Construction stiff, details are loose because they know where they're supposed to go. You're not guessing about what's supposed to happen. So that's not such a bad couch. And I think what I'm going to do is try to use some black Prismacolor to sort of pack in the nooks and crannies a little bit of value. I'm always looking for nooks and crannies to pack value into. That's like, it's a very, very easy way to bring dimension and light and shadow into your into your drawing. So anywhere there's like two parts are meeting, or anywhere that's like an underneath, an overhang, like here the entire couch on the floor, you can do it. Around, you know, it's the kind of thing where you have to be bold enough to try things that you're not sure will work, and you have to be observant enough to figure out what those things are. So that's, you know, a lot of that's up to you. Voila. So the fun part here, of course the fun part, let's do the fun part last. The fun part here is that if you drop your guidelines on the floor in both directions, you'll get kind of a fun, you're like, oh, look at that, a checkerboard pattern. So voila. Right? So, and with this framework, you can do like any number of things. Remember, the guidelines are just guidelines. If you don't like where one's placed, you don't need to use it, and you don't need a million of them to understand what's going on. All right, watch this. This door is going to go out to a hallway, which is going to look like this. You're never going to believe how simple this is. Watch this. All right, so this hallway goes up like this, and to indicate that, I'm going to have an electrical outlet that's getting cropped. And then there's going to be another space that this goes into. So you can sort of, like, just like we did here, as long as you're being consistent with this, you can like keep going back. It's a matter of balancing your stuff. And so in order to make this read, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you that this room is what's in focus. So I'm going to hit this optical illusion, not so great door frame with a little bit of ink as quickly and as neatly as I can muster. Yeah, you see the optical illusion, but it doesn't look that. There you go, problem solved. Where's my whiteout pen? And I'll try to clean up some of the stray pencil that's in there, but the Prismacolor is pretty dark, so you have to, it's not like a 2B. You have to sort of know what you're laying down and why with it. So, and then, so for this, so this is, because this is an ink, what I'm telling the viewer is that this is the plane that I intend to be in focus. So it means that not everything is in ink, but anytime there's an opportunity to at least accent something, like with these drop shadows, that's cool. I might want to take it. This way, watch what's going to happen over here as soon as I put this in. Hopefully it'll pop a little bit more. Okay, so this is supposed to be a crack, and I'm going to show you sort of like the drywall underneath using graphite. So it's a secondary detail. just like this is a secondary, like not in focus element, and this is. And now I've got a couple of opportunities here. This door frame's in focus, so this plane is going to get some crisp pencil, and maybe even a touch of graphite shading, just to separate the planes out, right? Because the more contrast you've got, the better shape you're going to be in. And then this last one, no graphite, but maybe I'll drop in some little orange value scale so that you can see that there's sort of architecture beyond this space. If I want to, maybe one way I can do that is by reinforcing that angle. So that is, look at that, we did that all with just the Mercedes-Benz. Let's do a variation with the letter Y. I'm going to shrink this. So let's try the letter Y, because if this is good for a high angle shot, this is really good for a low angle shot. And I'll frame it up like this. And you see the letter Y and where the ceiling meets the two walls. So then what I'm going to do is I'll drop, here's a door over here. It's the same room. Now this space I'm going to use to put a figure. And the figure is going to be, I'm going to try to bigger, imposing. But the thing that's really important is that this figure is blocking off this part of the set. So this line, their head is sort of interrupting this line right here. So that's really important. I wish I composed that a little bit better, but I wanted to have the couch in as consistently as I could get it. So then I'll have the other figure over here. And look what's happened in this scenario. The figure who's closer to the camera appears way, way bigger. And if you can get their head overlapping with a part of where the ceiling and the wall meet, the better off you're going to be. A lot of people say, I don't know what to do with the ceiling. Maybe I'll draw a fan, maybe I'll draw a light fixture. Well, those are, not bad ideas. But you can always sort of, like I said, reinforce the guideline with just like a little touch of texture. It's a very, very effective strategy, and it doesn't really require you to be like that precise, because it's just like you're putting a perspective stubble on the thing. Okay, so so in the letter Y, the figure closer to the camera appears bigger, and in Mercedes-Benz high angle, the person closer to the camera appears lower. So this is the kind of thinking that you want to be trying to engage with this sort of perspective hack. Let me show you another way of thinking about it. So I'm going to start with a couple of fresh. I got a letter Y here, and I've got a letter Y here. And I'm pretty sure you can see the difference. It's a little subtle, but once I complete, these are going to be non-pinch. It's called isometric. Almost not perfect, but not the worst thing anyone's ever drawn. And then I'm going to do this one. This one's tougher because the angles are much subtler. The parallelogram, the four-sided shape that makes up the top, is much more distorted. but these are both cubes, more or less, right? And so what this is telling me, let's do it again in Mercedes-Benz. So the first Mercedes-Benz symbol is going to be as even and balanced as I can get it, I hope. And the second one is going to be more, the wishbone is going to be more spread out. So maybe I'll do 3 where I'm really trying to give this an even shake demonstration. Okay, so this one is about as even as I think I can get it. Looks like a very, like a graphic design cube logo, I suppose. This is the bottom, right? It's either the bottom of the cube or the floor of the Mercedes-Benz. It's a wonderful optical illusion component to this. This one's a little bit more spread out, but I'm still being parallel with the cube. Let's see if we can see the difference here. And then this one's much more, much subtler and thus much harder to draw. Let's see. And the idea, if I did it bigger, it might be easier. I think you can see it between these 3, the progression, that the more even you are, the more balanced the isometric illusion is. This is isometric perspective. It looks like a video game, right? So the more even the thirds are, 1, 2, and 3 are, the more balanced the isometric is. But if you want to get more like eye level, then you want to spread them out like a wishbone. Let's get into another way of thinking about it. So go here. I want you to draw this. So it's not the Mercedes-Benz room. Wow, very unbalanced, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. And across the center is a dotted line. Now, everything, you want to always pay attention whether you're above or below the dotted line. Let me now demonstrate that to you. Okay, so I'm going to do the same room that we just drew. Okay, so door, couch, window, all this stuff. Okay, so I'll try to get it to fit in there. So here's going to be the door. And since I'm above the orange line, I'm going to go with this angle and bring it straight down. But obviously, if I want to do the molding of the floor, I want to be at this angle. Okay, great. So let's try one that's, doing both. Here's like that. So it's not really that like scary or complex or anything like that. Although the couch is going to be, a little weird. So here's one thing, and then here's the window. It looks like I'm on the guideline, so that's fine. And then I will, I think instead of the couch, let's put a table in the middle of the room. So how on earth did I do that? Let's review. I've got that's angle A, so that's here and here. And angle B is here, same color, and dotted line invisible. And that's that. So if I wanted to get, can you set the table? Man, that's tricky. Well, here's one chair. I can do it because I practiced for 40 years. So I'm going to show you what I think my chair looks like. Great. If it's a true chair, then there should be a dotted line between all 4 things that make it like a cube. Right? drag that down. And if this is too crazy for you, just draw some simple, light guidelines. Your guidelines are not part of the drawing. They're meant to be lines that you execute by tickling the paper, like no pressure down. We talked about pressure on the paper and easing up on that pressure so that you can get nice smooth value scales, and also so that you can sketch and figure things out without murdering the paper, basically. So try another chair over here. Let's see, I'll do the bottom. Oh, I gotta do the guideline, right? So I get the angle A, and now I gotta do angle B, and angle B looks like this. So I'll just drop that in. And if I like these for tiled floors, I can use them. I don't need to, but they're here when I need them. So this chair is really simple. The seat is just a square, and I've got plenty of squares. So I'm going to make sure that it starts under the table, squares off like that, and then the legs come down, straight down, and then look, I'm hitting this guideline, right? So if I just go up here, if I connect this guideline to this corner, it's going to tell me how long the other leg of the chair goes. So I'm telling you right now that since part of this chair is invisible, that the other legs are going to come from this point and this point, but I can't see them, and they'll be visible like this. I've committed a great sin here with my tangent line. Oh, forgive me. So I'll just make a little adjustment so that it's no longer a problem. A tangent line is when two lines run into each other, and the effect is that sort of sucks out all the depth of the drawing. Okay, so now we'll do the back of the chair. It's just an arc line, and then there's some straight lines back. So the arc line is going to go from here to here. So I know that this, watch this, the center of this point is here, so the arc is going to hit the center point somewhere along here, and I think that's high enough. So then I got to go from here to here, and from here to here in a single arc. Swoop the loop. Right, so that's one way to do the chair. Look, I've got some German expressionism going on here, but I can always adjust it to make it make more sense. Right. The next thing that we're going to do is double up the door frames. And the window. Let's lightly draw some guidelines out the window. Now they're not going to pivot unless I make them pivot. So check this. I'm going to extend the window beneath the horizon line, beneath the orange line, which means I'm now matching angle B. Beautiful, nice big window. And to let you know that this window is the one that means business, is the plane that means business, I'll give you my chisel tip Sharpie. And some guidelines in green. I'll tell you what, I'm going to reinforce all my guidelines. So my horizon line is here. And now look, I've got my horizon line and this angle, so I can fit a guideline or two in there. And then after that, I'm going to go up. But basically what's happening here is that when these guidelines hit the orange horizon, they shift, they pivot around. So that's what's going on here. And that means that I can draw as many buildings outside of the window as I can imagine. And watch this. This is the coolest part. That if I need to make them look like dimensional, all I have to do is drag in one direction. They very, very quickly gain dimension. The vertical lines always, always reinforce what you're trying to do, and then toot toot New York City. So that is that's the Mercedes-Benz. Let's see, we reviewed cubes. We talked about the Mercedes-Benz logo, how to use that and the letter Y to get high and low angle shots respectively. And then this one is the real brain teaser, trying to get out the window, out the door, designing, continuing to push the depth through windows and door frames, I think is a good challenge for you. And that's a 30-minute video. So we'll resume at another time with the linear perspective in 1 and 2 points. Thanks so much.